Well, while we're at it, I figured we would just do a big overview video of kind of my whole setup here at my home lab. So, plenty of storage. I'm trying to get this large format printer to work. I need to order a print head for it, but that'll be fun once it's up and running. As you can see down here, my day job is working for an audio video company. So over the years I've got myself quite a toolkit in order to do just about anything I could possibly need in not only the AV world, but also when it comes to networking. Bunch of crap in my desk. Underneath Paul Brehren's Tinker Try deal there is an OB-High VoIP adapter, which I use occasionally. Got a Canon printer there. So I'm doing 4 monitors on the desktop. As you can see here, this is my main E06 workstation. This is the one that I just built in that previous video. So far I've got Server 2012 and vCenter on there. Synology running my surveillance system at the moment. If you come down, you can see there's this USB hub over here. You know, the lighting is horrible. I use that. That USB hub comes over to a USB cable here in the rack. And what it allows me to do is to use a single USB connection and then tie in any of the devices I have in the hub to some of these Raspberry Pi devices. So in other words, I can basically, you know, through a single USB connection link up my Pis to a Wi-Fi adapter. In the case of a Pi Zero, you know, a network, a USB network adapter. And then I also use a Logitech wireless keyboard mouse combo. I plugged the receiver for that into that hub as well. So it kind of gives me just, you know, a bunch of USB ports to pass through to one USB port on the Pis. And flip out different USB based hardware. So from the front of the rack, we'll start from the top again. You know, we've got an orange Pi up here that I'm not using at the moment, but will be integrated here again soon. Below that, an Android box. Below that, Synology DS1515, which I'm using for the surveillance station software, as well as creating some LUNs for E06, so I can play with, hopefully here soon enough, play with some vSAN. Next to the Synology will be the mirror of the host, the E06 host we just built this weekend for the lab. But at the moment we just have a bunch of different connectivity coming out of the old fan hole there. So if we come down below, we have on the top shelf, we have our new E06 host. We're calling it Lab 1. Beside that, I have the HD Home Run Prime cable card TV tuner. And then back to our HDMI switch. So this HDMI switch is currently got a couple of different labels on there. HD1, HD2 correspond to a couple of HDMI cables I have coming out of the back. So HDMI 2 is currently connected into this Android TV box, and HDMI 1 is coming out of the connectivity bundle in the back there. So on the front of the HDMI switcher, we can switch between those two cables. My main ESXi And then this new box that we just built this weekend, Lab 1. Obviously next to Lab 1 there will eventually be a Lab 2. And using the switcher, I can switch. You see the monitor is now turned on over there. It's now on Lab 1. Right, but if I want to go over to the main ESXi build, we'll notice that over here on the monitor, it's doing the switching. I'm wondering if I might need to wake it up by plugging in USB keyboard and mouse into it. So at the moment you can see that I have the Logitech keyboard mouse adapter is in this new machine that we've built. But what the nice part about it is I just take this little USB adapter and then move it over to the hub to pass through keyboard and mouse to Raspberry Pi devices, or I could plug it into, basically any of the machines. We've got our PF Sense router right below. Well, right below the matrix switcher, we have a power supply, and then below that we have our PF Sense router. So I believe PF Sense is on 5, so we could basically just plug our USB keyboard and mouse adapter into the PF Sense box and then have access to those controls. So below the PF Sense router we have 2 switches. The top one is a Luxol PoE switch, and then the one below that is another Luxol 26 port switch. Below all that we have our Dell switch. As you can see, we now have a couple cables coming through into the VLAN that I created for these new ESXi hypervisors for my lab. And then below that we have 2 UPSs. Below the super server we have 2 UPSs. The top one is a Liebert, bottom one is a PF Power. The Liebert is basically there only for the ESXi build, and then the bottom one handles everything else. So as you can see here, we have this gray cable coming out. This is our HDMI balun, which runs over here to the HDMI balun receiver, which basically then goes up to the monitor here on the bench, which allows me to use the HDMI switch to switch between all the different devices that are connected to it. Here is the Logitech wireless keyboard and mouse, so I can move that adapter around in conjunction with the HDMI switcher and basically control any of the devices in the rack via that setup. Well, that's it for right now. Recluse's Home Lab 2017 Spring Update, Part 1. Thanks for watching.